Okay, we are officially live. Just give it a minute. Okay,
So let's
just
wait for our audience to build up and then we're just going to kick off.
okay. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome everybody. This is going to be a great opportunity to talk about a number of different things in that's happening in frontier technology. We're part of the Meta Visionaries, and we're actually building upon what we did on previous work. Yes, Boris, we will be showing what we've done on our AltSpace VR and also where we're moving next. So just to give you a background, what we're doing here today is to talk about the future of learning, specifically how frontier technologies like AI in art, when we talk about the metaverse and space education, how we're going to bring all of this together. And this is building on sessions we did last week with former chief scientist of NASA, Dr. James Green, and we had some fantastic sessions that we delivered there. So the context of today's talk is to look at how will all these technologies affect our current learning environment. What does it mean for our schools and universities? How are these technologies going to disrupt the future of work? And it's going to be divided into a number of sections. We'll be looking at AI and the role of art, or we'll be looking at the role of VR and the metaverse in education, and then Camilo will take forward in terms of its application in terms of space. So without further ado, and we have one of our lecturers who was fantastic, Jim Adams, good to see you here, who helped deliver a master class. In fact, Jim, we've actually picked your particular lecture that Camilo is going to be showing on today. So that would be super cool. And Harry, great to have you here. So this should be some fun. Right. So with that said, Ayesha, I'm going to let you take it away, and let's have this discussion.
Thank you so much, Wasim. Yeah, first of all, so glad to be here with everyone. And I think it's a great topic that today we're discussing about just frontier technologies and what its applications are today. Living in this time, I think it's very exciting for us, and each one of us has a new side to discuss. So, first of all, that's such a great thing to be working on and being part of. Because my own background is related to art, so I'm going to focus on how today's artists, innovators can use the technologies that we have today, which weren't available previously, and kind of see what the applications are, what the new careers are, how we can move forward with it. So yeah, what you see on the slide is something that I've been researching for a while now, and it has to do with the 3D art, 3D rendering, and AI generated works. So what you see on the screen is actually the 3D printed version research that I've been part of, and it's actually done through biology. So that's the interesting thing. And also, if there is no metaverse, so it's not possible. So metaverse plus AI plus 3D art is equal to what you're seeing on the screen. And obviously I can go more in detail, but this is just an overview of the possibilities that we're going to explore today. It's mind blowing, what today an artist can do, which was not previously possible. So if you can go next. Yeah, so this again, it's an interesting example of what art could do for the space applications. This is a sustainable design that was done through the use of a software that is designed for metaverse. The name is Gravity Sketch, and by using this helmet design, which is also like kind of like a headgear, So I worked on this design, and again, it's possible that anyone can print it, 3D print it, using the metaverse that we're developing with the metavisionaries. And we can collaborate in our metaverse, and obviously Mariam is going to talk more about it. But yes, this is the possibility that now we have, that again people can collaborate, engineers can come with the artists, you can learn new ways to monetize and design. So this helmet is just one example, this headgear is just one design, and you can create a number of works of art by using these new frontier tech metaverse related applications that even I'm really into, and I would love to talk more about it, and teach it. And this kind of design is definitely possible with the help of AI and metaverse. And again, this is done through biology and interdisciplinary learning. So again, art alone cannot do it, and it's a great example for it. Next. Another example of how an idea, a sketch, can be turned into an actual execution work of art by using AI, machine learning. And the good thing is that AI is available to everyone. So you don't have to say that, no, I can't learn it today. Everyone can do it. You just have to learn how to generate prompts. You need to learn how to just start with it, and just have a team which is like really collaborative. Next. Few more examples of what the future identity would look like for all of us. Even if you're into future space art, space traveling, this is something that you need to get into. And obviously avatars for gamification is one of the biggest frontier that the Gen Z is going to enjoy. So definitely something you can look into. And because metavisionaries is teaching courses that is all about interdisciplinary approach, about art innovation, so this again is a very interesting field for anyone who is into creative arts. Next. A few more examples of my works that talked about space culture. This is again a very interesting theme that people can delve into when it comes to metaverse. Specifically, metaverse is not an idea anymore. First of all, it's a concept that can be looked into through so many different lenses. It can mean different things to different people. And I think this is where people confuse what metaverse is. 3D softwares and metaverse is a different thing. A 3D render doesn't have to be metaverse. A metaverse can be an idea, it can be an interpretation, it can do different things for different people. And for me, like you see, it turned into like space culture renderings that is supposed to give you a very different idea. But like it can mean so many different things, like mental health awareness. You can talk about biology, you can talk about immune cells and what it means. So all of these different renderings can come to life with the use of AI and metaverse. This is actually one of our projects that we did with Dr. Tara Rutley and collaboration of metavisionaries, that we worked around JWST telescope. And this was way back when AI was a thing. So I was working on emotion mapping, machine learning, even at that time. So I think now we just see that it's not an idea anymore. That point, I remember I was using a prototype of Chat GPT to run some prompts, and today it's available to everyone. So it's not stopping anywhere soon. So I think we all need to adapt this new technology, and we all need to learn, because the times are changing really quickly. And this is it's quite exciting time to be living in. And this work was a great collaboration. It just shows that the possibilities are with spacesuit designing. Again, it's a different field for anyone who is into space sciences, but again, a great example for anyone who is into fashion, identity exploration and those kind of things. Next. Again, some examples, just scroll through. I think these are some of the examples that just shows us again different renderings, or how to visualize an environment before it comes to life. So yeah, these are just like 3D renderings, digital twins, because again digital twins is another different field when it comes to metaverse studies. Digital twin is what we encompass as an avatar. It can be a low resolution a character, or it can be a high resolution character, but artists do that. It's not just going to happen on its own. So again, it's a very interesting field that you can start learning today, and it can become over time your career as an artist. And interesting thing is, if you're all about the physical art and not the digital art, then you can turn these characters, the same designs, into the reality, because 3D printing is now available for fabrics as well. It's not just the hard materials. Now you can do soft printing, you can work on e-textiles, you can work on microbots, you can work on and these are just some of the fields, right? There's additive manufacturing, there is SLA printing. So again, what you see here is a form of a sustainable printing design that was done through AI, plus 3D rendering, plus 3D printing. So again, there's no end to how you can explore your creativity. These are some of the, again, examples of characters that we've been working around with meta visionaries that explore just the headgears, the aesthetics of today, which is the oculus, the different identity, the different life, the second life. So yeah, all of these things are quite interesting if you start exploring them today, because again, they're a bit technical, but you can get a hang of it if you have the right audience and the right mentors around it.
So, Ayesha, I'm going to come in here to talk about some of these things that you've just mentioned. First of all, we take the context of art and some of the designs you made here. What skills did you have to utilize to create what you've created here? Let's just list some of those skills that you had to put together, and what kind of software did you use, and how to learn to put this together?
Yeah, great question. So, Wasim, for this, especially this artwork, because it's based on the idea of illustration. So, yes, you have to know the basics first, which is Photoshop, Canva, Illustrator, those softwares you need to know as a digital artist. Yeah, Procreate, these are the softwares that you can choose which one is, like, either you are towards photo manipulation, you are either towards lighting design, or either you are towards graphics. So you can choose one of those, and then on top of it, when it comes to the execution of idea, there are another set of softwares, like you can work on Blender. So I worked on Blender for this, because the figure that you see lying around and it's viewing upwards, that figure was rendered in a 3D software, right? So that is where you go into details, you work on a 3D, almost like a sculpture in real life. So it's like a 3D sculpture that you work around. So Blender is a great software you can use, and then you can render it on other softwares as well. But yeah, Blender is something you need to learn if you are into 3D renderings. And then
So,
for AI part, for putting it all together, it's DALI and Midjourney, where you just enter the prompt, and there is a term called prompt engineering. It's something that you need to know. If you can't write good prompts, you can't have good artwork. So today, I think the definition of art is a bit different, because you have to think like an artist. You have to think about your art before you can create art, and that is your art, right? Your thinking is your art. So I think these were all the software that I basically used for these ones. But other than that, I think I actually used Gravity Sketch for the artwork on the right side, to create that 3D form of the spacesuit which Dr. Tara is wearing. So that was like a custom suit that I designed using Gravity Sketch, by having my Oculus headset, and within it you get a mannequin, and you can work around the form of the spacesuit, and you can put colors, you can put textures, you can composite it, and then you can take it to another software which is Blender, and then work around the lights and the rendering of it.
so just before we move on, what's your feel as an artist now that you're utilizing things like AI to generate art, or even video? Do you still consider it art?
Yes, I do consider it art, because at the end of the day, art doesn't have to be defined by how many hours you are putting in the work of art. I mean, some people say that an artwork is done in this much time, but I think time has nothing to do with it. Today we're moving with such a fast pace. So today the definition of art is how you think and what is your curation of that thought. Like, how are you putting things together and researching and rebridging those ideas? It's not about bringing new information, it's about reimagining the same world, reimagining the same thoughts, and giving it a new meaning. I mean, that's how I think. AI is just a tool at the end of the day. It's just like any other software. An artist can work around it and see how it can benefit the artist, so it doesn't matter.
So just to recap then, some of the things that we're going to be offering is utilizing art to learn skills like how to utilize AI, how to 3D print, understanding different materials, and this feeds into sustainability, as well as allowing you the opportunity to create new opportunities in terms of entrepreneurship and using these skills to create new opportunities. So we'll be definitely going into that in more detail during the Q&A. So thank you so much, Ayesha, for presenting that. So this was the segment talking about how AI and art are coming together, and the things you can put together. So not only are you creative, but you're also learning the science, and you're learning the math, and you're learning all the other skills. So these are just some of the things that we'll be talking about. So with that, now I'm going to come to Maryam. Ayesha, thank you so much. So Maryam, your segment now, we're going to be talking about the metaverse part, and what that specifically means. We're going to take it from there. So welcome, Maryam.
Hello, everyone. So good to be here with you all. And we have an amazing audience with us, as always. So thank you for joining us. I'm going to be talking about, as Aisha just spoke about how we reimagine art in this time and age, right? So it's not just with art, it's with every field that we talk about. Similarly, with education, at MetaVisionaries, we're just trying to reimagine education in a way that it's easily accessible, it's more immersive, and there is a greater student journey experience linked with it. So, when we talk about what trends are going to shape the future of learning, I think it's very important to mention it has to be more connected, there has to be more collaboration and co-creation. And the metaverse component, learning in VR and educating in VR allows you to do all of that. Then we have anywhere, anytime learning. What that essentially means is that because of these technologies, education is now more accessible for everyone, right? So when we talk about anywhere, anytime learning, that essentially means that by using these technologies, we are improving access to education worldwide. Then we have customization for a learner first approach. So when we talk about education in VR or education using digital immersive technologies, we also understand that there is a greater user agency linked with it, right? As an educator or as a learner or as a student, the amount of control that you have over the content that you're accessing, what you're learning, what you're teaching, it's obviously greater than when you would be studying in a more conventional environment. Then obviously there's more digitalization in education. Education as we know it now, it's more digital because of easier access to these devices, easier access to internet, and being more connected. It just allows for education to be more digital in a lot of ways. Then we have the interdisciplinary approach to learning. What that means is that, when you talk about education and different fields, in this time and age, because the things around us are moving so fast and everything is so interconnected, you cannot be limiting your study or your field to just one particular field of education. On the contrary, it is more interdisciplinary, which means that a lot of disciplines have to come together to be able to create something amazing. For example, just like Aisha mentioned, engineers, artists, developers, they all come together to create content in VR worlds, right? So the kind of world that we are heading into now, there has to be this approach to learning so that what's being created, what we're putting out there, what the content we're consuming, it's more effective for everyone around us. Can we move
So
to the next slide?
I'm just going to show an example of what you referred
Yeah.
to. If you look here, this is Dr. Jim Green, who's currently in JPL, just about to do a talk.
Yep.
And here he is utilizing the metaverse environment to talk about perseverance and the Mars rover. Uh, and I think, again, the point you mentioned in terms of anywhere, anytime, Jim was in the US, while some of us were in the UK and other was in other parts of the world. So these are just some of the things that you can do. And obviously,
People
we'll
from
go.
different parts of the world are coming together in one environment, being collaborative, learning together, and everything that they would have been doing in a conventional classroom environment. But now it's more connected and more digital. Yeah. We
All
move
right.
to the back to the slides now. Yeah. Next one. So, when we talk about how metaverse can transform education or how VR technologies and all these immersive technologies can enhance education, when you combine AR, VR to make 3D digital worlds, the content that you're producing and the education, it becomes more interactive, it's more immersive, there is greater collaboration, and it's more engaging. one of the key issues that we face with our current education systems is the low levels of student engagement, right? Because when you're studying in a conventional classroom, it's very difficult to retain a student's attention span, right? You're presenting content, but because everything's theoretical and there's nothing for them to interact with, right? They become easily bored, right? So that kind of issues that you're facing in a conventional classroom environment can be easily overcome when you're using VR technologies. Why? Because as you can see in the diagrams being shown on the presentation, you're able to put in 3D assets. You're able to display 3D objects of what you're teaching. So what that results in is greater student outcomes. There's enhanced lecture delivery. Students are able to grasp the concepts better because they're able to learn from it by just touching the objects, interacting with it. So it's more of an experiential learning approach that we're targeting there. So as you see on the screen right now, it's in a VR environment, it's AR, VR combined, and the students are able to just move around the objects, they can interact with it, they know how to play around with it. So what that results in is better student outcomes. They're able to understand by actually experiencing it for themselves. So if we
Yes,
move back to the
that was
presentation now,
that
yeah,
was
next
actually
one.
me playing around with the
Yeah,
coronavirus um, DNA and looking at that. So and it's a great example that you pointed out to where not only can you use the virtual reality setting but also the augmented reality setting.
yeah. So then there was this survey conducted by Samsung recently on what teachers and educators think about VR in the classroom. So then 79% of the teachers said that at some point in their educational journey, they would like to use the VR technologies. Why? Because it obviously results in greater student engagement. There's better student retention. There's more control over content. So all of these benefits combined lead to better enhanced student outcomes. So if you look at it subject wise, 80% of the geography teachers said that, they find VR technology is very helpful. Why? Because when you're trying to explain students different landscapes or different environments, it's
Lead to better
obviously easier for
enhanced
you
student
to show them
outcomes.
in VR
If you look
as
at it
combined to you letting them know theoretically. What happens is in a classroom, if I'm teaching different geographical landscapes, but what I'm doing is it's verbal teaching, right? The students can only imagine. But when you're in a VR environment, you're able to display like a whole scene of that environment. The students can actually experience it, they can actually see it, they can move around, they can interact. So obviously they understand better. Then with history lessons as well, there's 74% of the history teachers say that they find VR technology is very helpful. Why? Because if you talk about historical sites that are located globally in different parts of the world, it is not feasible, or I should say rather possible, for you to take your students to every historical site in the world, right? But in a VR setting, you are able to put in a 3D model of that historical site, whether it's a fort, whether it's a museum, any historical site. So obviously, that way students are able to experience those environments better. So next slide. So some of the use cases for metaverse in education, and this is something that we at MetaVisionaries are actively doing as well. We're transforming classrooms and campuses. We're making digital campus, digital classrooms. How we're doing that is we're taking an actual campus of a university and we're making digital twins of those campuses in the metaverse, in 3D environments. So just like students would go to an actual campus or an actual classroom to study, now they can just be at their home in their VR setting. They can come into these environments and just study and interact with each other just like they would in in an actual school. But then some of the questions that we get asked quite often are like, people say, okay, we can deliver this lesson on Zoom. We're already doing digital education. But what's missing in those, the current softwares or the current mediums that we're using is the level of socialization and interaction. Yes, I do agree that with distance learning, there are different platforms available and you can teach there as well, right? Because these environments allow you to actually sit around with your classmates. You can all be in a same virtual setting. You can interact with each other. There's more socialization. And that is one component that gets missed out in other distance learning platforms that you try to do. Yeah. So if you see on the screen right now, this is our metaverse environment. We call this the lecture dome. This is actually where all of our VR lessons, our classes, our conferences, our events, everything takes place in this environment. And because it allows for everyone to be there, together at the same time from different parts of the world, so there's more collaboration and there's obviously more connectedness as well. And what you see here on the screen right now is our meta ship. We have an art gallery here. Then we have a deck here from where you can see different planets. There's obviously room for customization. You can change to the view. You can, it can be any view, not just the solar system, but anything that you're trying to teach. We can actually put 3D assets of those objects in this environment for better understanding. Hmm.
All
So if we
right.
move back to the slides now, yeah. Immersive 3D lessons, what we've been actively doing for the past few months is 3D lessons in the metaverse. Um, how we do that? So there's two options. We can actually develop 3D content ourselves, or we can, convert the existing curriculums, existing content into 3D for different educators as well. So what that allows us to do, or what that allows educators to do is there's greater agency and there's greater control of the content they're trying to put across. And as a student, your learning journey is enhanced 10 times. Why? Because when you're actually learning in a virtual environment and you're able to learn by touching those objects or having those objects displayed in front of you, you obviously understand better than as compared to if you were just reading it off a book. How can metaverse transform education? Just like I've discussed before, we can actually have real world skill building in virtual and hybrid environments. There can be experiential learning, there can be deliberate practice, like the pictures that you see here right now. The student's putting on a VR headset, and that student is able to view the entire solar system in front of him. So what that allows that student to do is instead of just reading it off a book or seeing a picture and just imagining, the student is able to actually, grab the object, turn around the planet. So that just gives better learning outcomes. And there is obviously greater retention as well. So then you can obviously explore different worlds through visualization and storytelling. Through VR technology, you can just step into an entirely different world. For example, deep sea or deep ocean life that you're trying to teach in a textbook. But for a student to be actually able to put on the VR headset or even from their desktop, if they're able to experience this environment for themselves, they can obviously learn better and there can be greater fact retention as well. So then there can be human capabilities in interpersonal or difficult situations. We all know that in this time and age, skill building is, it's of utmost importance, right? So one of the major use cases of the metaverse environment is that it allows you to practice limitless number of times, right? So, for instance, one of the greatest use cases that we have in medical study right now with metaverse is that students or medical students can actually practice surgeries an infinite number of times, right? Any medical procedure or anything that they're trying to do in real life, they can now actually do it in a VR setting. They can practice, infinite number of times, and there's more control, there's more agency. They can actually choose their own timing. They can learn in different ways. So there's greater experiential learning that way.
So just to add here, if you're thinking about interpersonal skills,
Yeah.
specifically interviews or speaking, one of the things that you will see coming forward is you will be in an environment where you can have avatars which will utilize things like Chat GPT or the OpenAI software
Yeah,
or any of the other AI
absolutely. Yeah.
components integrated with the avatar, so you can practice your interview skills, you can practice communication skills, you can practice speech skills, because it will interact with you. So here's just another example of how you could use it in a setting where you're preparing for an interview. You can have that constant back and forth. So again, another practical example of how that will be utilized.
Yeah, very like interesting use case that we have there. Yeah.
So I
Then
think Sorry, go on.
Yeah, we're just going to wrap up now. So, why do we constantly tell people to move to virtual environments? Because obviously it improves accessibility and reachability as well. It's not because the metaverse and VR environments, these are not constrained by physical and geographical boundaries, which means that educators and learners from across the globe can come together and study together in a virtual environment. And even with people with disabilities, metaverse education can open new doors of accessibility to quality education, which is interactive, immersive, and equitable for all. So, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mariam. That was absolutely fantastic. Great examples of what we're doing within the metaverse environment. And we're now going to
Sure.
carry
Thank you,
on that
Wasim.
conversation with bringing on Camilo Reyes. Camilo, welcome.
Hi guys. So um, it's been it's been a great conversation so far. I think I have like an echo in the um, so Ayesha has been talking about the art. Maria has been talking about the applications, and I actually want to show you like what does it means like applying these in example for space education, because one of the components of our projects at MetaVisionaries is doing a space education using VR. Like, how can you build a satellite in the metaverse? Like, how can you explore the solar system, as Mariam was saying? How can you actually talk about medicine in space and how microgravity affects the human body? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. I need to wear my headset, and then
And I'm
you
going to
will.
join in. I'm going to join in.
Thank you. So you will be able to see people that like the the screen that you can see. That's in the dome. That's the actual dome. Let me. I'm connected from my computer and from the Oculus, and I
So,
will
as what
just.
you see on your screens right now is just Camilo is going
Yeah,
to be coming from live from our metaverse environment for you to actually experience it.
that's our lecture dome.
Yeah.
For that, we have six for people. And then here is our section for building a satellite. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to enter with my other avatar. I'm entering at the moment. And for example, there you can see like Wasim's avatar. And what we have here is different satellite parts, right? And how we do it basically with these with the handsets that you see here, for example, in my camera, right? And now you see my avatar. Hi, everyone. So with these two handsets, I can grab any satellite part. Let's say, for example, I want to grab, maybe if I am successful, this solar panel, you see? I have this solar panel, right? And what if I want to start like an entire integration process of a satellite? Of course, I'm not gonna go through the entire process, but for example, I can grab this piece of structure, right? I can grab maybe this antenna. I can also grab this other, let's see over here. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky, but you see, I start grabbing stuff and then I'm kind of putting it together, right? Maybe I can just like do it like this, right? Towards the avatar, and then I can start building the entire thing. What is the interesting part of this that you can actually see, like, let's say in real time, but using the virtual world, how an entire satellite is being manufactured, right? Um, I am a satellite engineer myself. Until last year, I was working as a spacecraft controller in Betzdorf with SES satellites in Luxembourg. And I never saw the satellites myself. I knew I was working with telecommunication satellites, right? They were placed, or they are placed actually 36,000 kilometers away from Earth. They provide telecommunications to anywhere, right? To 96% of human population. But I never saw them, right? Of course, I saw images, but I never saw the satellites. And so far, I haven't been able to work in a satellite integration process. Here in the metaverse, I am able to actually virtually build an entire satellite. For example, like those ones that you see behind my avatar and behind Wasim, we can build those satellites now. I can grab the dishes, I can grab everything you see, and then I am able to build the entire thing. And like, I can play around, I can move it, I can do different iterations and everything. So yeah, and we can also change the environments. Now we are actually, let's say, building the satellites somehow, with the solar system in the back. So these are different type of iterations that we can do. And why this is important? Well, basically because visualization is key nowadays to understand the concepts. I remember I never struggled myself understanding, like, for example, concepts of the cellular mythos or stuff like that. But I know that some people have issues understanding visualizing stuff. Now with metaverse education, we can bring the person, or we can bring, let's say, the cellular mythos to your eyes, and then you can understand. Now, for example, if I want to show you, let me just bring this down. Then you can see behind me the entire. You see, we are we have now the stars behind. Let me show you with the other here. So imagine you are now able to travel to the distant stars with the metaverse, and millions of things. We can bring dinosaurs. We can transport you to distant worlds. We can put you into Alpha Centauri. So these are just of a few things that we can do. And of course, it's everything about enhancing education, like bringing people closer to knowledge. We are enhancing the way people are learning, and this is cool. Honestly, this is pretty cool because people will be able to create like neural connections faster because they are able now to see and understand the concepts better. And I think I'm very lucky, and I'm very glad to be able to work in this project, because, as I said, now I am able to build satellites anytime, anywhere in the solar system. Wasim, would you like to add something here?
Yeah,
On
I
the
think
meta-
I think the beauty of what this does is, and both AR and VR will have an important role in terms of industrial application, in terms of how we collaborate. Imagine you're looking at new materials, and you have the exact digital twin, so the physics of the material is exactly as if you had the real life material. You can go and do testings. You can look at how we can manage climate solutions. There's a whole bunch of application, and you can bring on experts from anywhere around the world. And the key here is speed. And secondly, you can simulate environments like the one you're seeing. So I think that is one of the coolest things. Things you thought you didn't have access to, now you do. And that, for me, is the beauty of what we've created. And as the technology grows, gets more refined and more defined, these are just some of the things you're going to be able to do, kind of going forward.
yeah. So this is just a glimpse, guys, of what we are able to do in the lecture dome. And honestly, we have so much content. We have so much things that we can show you, um, with in our lecture dome. You previously saw in a video that showed Mariam how, for example, we can place an astronaut, and we have also seen, in lectures with the International Space University. I'm gonna stop wearing my headset so I can show you my face. Um, how, for example, we can explain the effects of microgravity on the human body, right? How, for example, the microgravity give you a deep motion sickness because of the effects on the otolith organ. So all these kind of concepts that are somehow new to us, now we are able to understand it in a deeper way and in a proper manner, because we are able to see them, right? Because honestly, guys, I think we cannot relate that when we hear the word metaverse, we are always listening about like gaming, living in a digital twin, as Ayesha mentioned. But actually, the metaverse is a deeper concept. We are still building the concept. We are still trying to understand it better. We are still trying to figure out ways to show. For example, here we have in the lecture dome, we have integrated ChatGPT. That is a new tool that now everybody's crazy talking about. And we are able, for example, to ask the artificial intelligence to give us definitions about anything. Maybe, Wasim, if you want to show. Um,
Yes, but for me, integrating this within the classroom, and each student having access to it, to being able to find answers whilst they're sitting in the class. So, what does the school of the future look like? Well, it says there will be no classrooms, there will be no students. Instead, students will be able to learn at their own pace and their own way. And what that for me means is that teaching will require us to look at a model of coaching as opposed to just teaching. So,
yeah,
facts.
it will be a guidance. The teacher will be a guidance nowadays with the artificial intelligence and with all these tools that we have. Is like how the teachers frame themselves within this technology advancement, right? Because it's a new tool. It's not gonna go. It's not gonna go away. And of course, the education is gonna change the way we know it. We are facing a new way to educate people, not only kids, not only teenagers, but people from any age range can now come to these kind of environments, learn new things, and of course learn new skills, because that's also important that you using the metaverse can learn new skills that will make your life better professionally. Oh, there you see, for example, we have here
The
the
perseverance program.
Perseverance rover that is currently on Mars. We have it here in the metaverse, and we can play around uh, with Perseverance. So you see, guys, these are the type of things that are possible using the metaverse. And with that, thank you. I want to close my session. Thank you so much for having me here.
I mean, even learning the planets and what you can do. So yes, so I'm going to take this off as well. That was great, and it can get very distracting, even in a live when you go in. Uh,
Yes, indeed.
and we did kind of get distracted and went really towards it. But the point is, I mean, these are just some of the applications that you're looking at. And Mesuni says, amazing. The future of education is here and now, and I totally agree. So now we're going to leave it open. We'd love to answer your questions. Any specific questions you have, feel free to ask. And whilst you have that, I'm just going to touch upon the points that we addressed in this particular live. So, Meta Visionaries, the goal for us is to give access to frontier technologies, including space. And what we will be doing is building physical space innovation labs with our partners, Space Applications. And these are connected around the world. And what will happen? I know it's great, Jim. It's great to see you. Thank you so much. Now, when we say physical space innovation labs, we mean a physical facility that has an engineering room. It has a control panel which is directly linked to our module on the space station. And the advantage of these is not only do you get to learn the theoretical side, but you get to apply what we do. Now, let us, for example, put it together to you. What does space, diabetes, and labs all have together? How do they all link? So we're going to tell you one of the things we're doing, which is super exciting, is in this month on March, we are going to be launching a cube to the International Space Station with our partners from Malta, our partners from SpaceOmics, with Space Applications Ice Cube service. And what we're going to be doing is sending this cube that you're going to see. The third phase is going to go to space. And in this cube are samples of diabetic patients with foot ulcers from around the world, including patients from Saudi Arabia, from Malta, from Oxford. And what's going to happen is this cube is going to go to the International Space Station. We are going to measure and learn about the microbiome of these patients in an environment of microgravity. and what can we learn from that environment and then bring back to the earth in terms of new drugs for patients with diabetes, or whatever we can learn in terms of the microbiome that could benefit patients with diabetes. This is just one example. And in this example, I've given you engineering skills. You're going to be utilizing a whole range of different scientific subjects. We brought in medicine into this, engineering. There's all these advanced skills that are coming together. And also, we're going to be including pieces of art and music to live stream from when it go to the station. So these are just some of the things that we're going to be doing with our partnerships. So space innovation labs that give you direct access to space, where you also get to learn advanced engineering, new frontier technologies, simulate virtual environments to do your collaborations. And then, of course, we built a metaverse which links to it, where you get to learn. So for those of you who are interested in getting involved in our learning capacity, our metaverse, and getting involved with our space labs, feel free to reach out to anybody and find out more. And we're going to be doing more of these lives regularly on Tuesdays and Thursdays leading up to this launch of this particular experiment. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. And we'll then be looking to tie this all down. So, yes. No.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
Okay, so I have a comment from a friend, and she's asking, if we all go into this digital world, how will we make sure that people still have interpersonal skills? Maryam, you talked about that. True, if you're in the virtual world, will kids or will still be able to communicate with others around them in the physical space?
I think that's a very good question, and something, when you talk about these digital technologies, there is, a certain, there has to be some regulations and there has to be some ethics involved in it. We have to be very responsible when we use these technologies, especially with kids. We do know that kids of this time and age are natively digital, they're on their devices. So there has to be a fine balance between how they divide their time and attention on these devices and their online lives versus the physical lives. So your question when you ask about, if everyone goes into the digital worlds, are they still gonna, be able to develop interpersonal skills? I think that has a lot to do with maintaining a fine balance as to we have to be very responsible when using these technologies. So when we actually promote the use of these technologies, we also have to be careful with, the age groups that we're looking at. We have to be, careful of, the time we're spending on these technologies. So I think, there has to be those ethical considerations in place. And when the metaverse actually becomes more accessible and when it's actually being adopted more, globally, there will be some kind of regulations around it as well, right? There will be some law around it as well. We do know that every sector we know today will have some relevance in metaverse. So similarly, there will be some legalities involved, there will be some ethical considerations. So with all of them in place, I think that will really help us in being responsible towards the use of these technologies. So yeah. And when you say that interpersonal skills in metaverse, I think the idea is that when you're able to collaborate with people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different ethnicities in one place, I think in some way that can actually enhance your interpersonal skills because you have greater exposure, you're able to talk to different people more differently. So I think in some way that can also help in enhancing your interpersonal skills. Yeah.
I think if I can add on that, remember that the metaverse is not only the VR component, but also the augmented reality component. Interpersonal skills, for example, let me think on the case, for example, a few years ago with Pokemon Go, that everybody was walking around with their phones, like catching up Pokemons. That was an application of augmented reality. And some people that were not so much into talking to strangers got so excited for the app that they actually started to talking to strangers because of the Pokemon Go application. They needed to interact with other users from the app, right? So the metaverse is also a way for us to create new bonds with people in ways that we cannot imagine yet and we cannot envision, right? So it's not only about the virtual reality, it's the augmented reality, the extended reality, and how we put all that together under the metaverse umbrella and all the applications that this brings.
So there's another question in terms of an art course, beginners by Ayesha. So absolutely, the whole point of today's session and the future sessions is to talk about some of the things that we're going to be bringing together. And Ayesha, it seems that you're going to have to personally lead some of these sessions. So that's there. So Fahim, do reach out to us, and then we'll be able to talk about that. Another question, how do you feel AI can add to industry, for example, manufacturing?
Well, for example, one of the applications that I see, maybe you guys have heard about the NVIDIA Omniverse, which is the Omniverse is somehow like a metaverse from NVIDIA. It's a metaverse world from NVIDIA. And NVIDIA, for example, using the Omniverse, have an application for BMW. So BMW, in fact, has their factory in the Omniverse just to test new ways of manufacturing, like where to place the actual people in the real factory. So they tested first in this digital twin in the Omniverse to have like a better, to find better performances and best practices, right? So that's that's like a direct application from AI. As a mechanical engineer, I would thinking maybe from the materials engineering perspective, like and also from the processes perspective on how can I manufacture a piece of mechanics in a better way, right? What could be the best practices from the simulation perspective as well, you know? So those are maybe direct applications that come into my mind from the mechanical engineering perspective on how we can do manufacturing with AI.
Yeah, so another question specifically is regards to the hardware. Now, we had the Oculuses on. The question is, isn't it going to be difficult to have these devices on all the time? Actually, I have a great answer for you for this one, because we were in Dubai for the World Government Summit, and we had the pleasure of meeting Chris Pickett, who is the CEO of um, uh, DigiLens, and they've just released a new product. And our chief scientist, Jim Green, was there. And actually, we're going to show you.
Chris, when you came up with this concept for what Jim is experiencing right now, what was it that made you really define and refine this product? What were you thinking?
You know, ultimately, this is about connecting people and making them more productive, augmenting them so that they're better. Yeah. Right, and that's really our drive. That's what we're trying to do. Long term, people all over the world will be connecting in a much different way, sharing and learning from each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can easily see that that's opens up all kinds of doors and possibilities. It's really a wave of the future, and as soon as this becomes affordable, I'm going to buy one.
So there, you know, if you look at the structure of the glasses, I mean, they were so much slicker and easier to use. And I think, you know, those are just going to be some of the things that you can do with, you know, and that was specifically AR focused. So we're really looking forward to working with them and do that. Can you give any training to educate incorporating VR tech in the lesson? Absolutely. So these are just some of the things that we're going to be incorporating in teaching and providing support for teachers, not just the students, in incorporating elements like this within their classroom. You can use our dome, for example, or other environments that we're creating, and we'll have that opportunity to go through that. So with that being said, we said we're going to be on time, and we gave ourselves an hour. So I wanted to thank everybody who watched this feed. Please feel free to reach out to anybody here for teachers and educators, how you can get involved with the metaverse, how you can bring it in your classrooms. for parents who want to learn about AI, who want to learn about the metaverse, who want to learn about 3D printing and new technologies, not even necessarily to go and utilize themselves, but understand how it connects with their kids' future, and what is it that this means for the future of their kids. And of course, for professionals and undergraduates, if you're looking to learn a lot more about some of the things we're doing, also some of the advanced skills that we're going to be looking to teach, feel free to reach out. And with that, I'd just love for each of the speakers to have say their last words. So Camilla, if I let you go first, and the ladies can go last.
Thank you, Wasim. Now is this is a great initiative. As he mentioned before, guys, join us next Thursday. We will have like every 2 days, like these kind of live sessions in LinkedIn, YouTube, where we will be talking about like different aspects of the metaverse. We'll be talking about our projects. So more than happy to be hosting this. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you want to, I don't know, partner with us or join our projects, just like drop us a DM, and we will be more than happy to collaborate. And of course, always you guys are always welcome to join us in our sessions. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Amazing. Ayesha?
Yeah, so just wanted to also say and add that, a lot of concepts that we're trying to dissect here, it's a lot of, it sounds complex, but if you follow up and you keep on interacting more and more with a community that understands these technologies like metaverse, 3D printing, AI, and everything that we talked about, you will understand and you'll find your place, especially emerging students who have no idea how to become part of everything that we've talked about. So students, teachers, mentors, whoever you are, I think there's a space for you in what we're talking about and what we're saying. So you can turn that into your future career, you can turn that into your passion project, so there's a lot of different possibilities of and that's the exciting part. So yeah, happy to have more conversations related to it in the future, and obviously we're going to do more of these sessions, so that we can raise more awareness.
So Maryam, you get the final word.
Great. It has to be ladies first, but Camilo went first. Yeah. So yeah, guys, thank you all for joining us today. And it was amazing being a part of this amazing panel and having this interesting conversation with you all. And I would just like to say that, like just Ayesha mentioned, no matter which sector you're from, which field you're from, there's a space for everyone in VR and Metaverse. So feel free to reach out to us, educators, learners, teachers, students, wherever you are. No matter which background you're from, we're happy to entertain you and support you with everything that you want to do. So thank you all for joining us, and let's revolutionize and reimagine education together. Thank you all.
Take care, guys. Good night.
Bye-bye.